Welcome back to the show. You found us. We're so glad that you did. It's Sonic Weekly. My name is Grant, one of your hosts. We bring you all things Sonic the Hedgehog, every part of the franchise, every 7 days or so from Team Sonic Weekly. And on that team is Bo. Hi, Bo.
Beat me up. Hey, this episode will have spoilers for probably everything related to Sonic in the last 30-some years. Like, just be prepared for that.
Yeah. As famous Sonic contemporary The Lion King would say, be prepared. And we're also prepared for the star of our show, out of the shadows, into the spotlight, David the Lurker. Hi, David.
Whoa, hi Grant, hi Bo. Yeah, that's right. We're spoiling it all. You want to know what the second level in Sonic 1 is? We're going to tell you. It's Marble Zone. That's the spoiler.
Damn.
Sorry.
Man.
If you haven't played Sonic 1, pause the show, go play it, come back, we'll be here.
Right. And then if you haven't played Sonic 2, you should probably pause the show. But don't forget to play the Game Gear version of both in between. And
not to mention, if you haven't listened to every single previous episode and consumed every piece of Sonic fan games, you got the new demo.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll talk about that. Who knows what we'll talk about? We don't know, but we do know that we're excited to have our guest back on the show with us. Sonic the Hedgeblog, Sega Forever. Many credits to his name. Ryan Langley's back. Hi, Ryan.
Hello. Great to be back.
One of the things that's different than your previous appearances is now you are surrounded by all of your Sonic stuff, which is either my ultimate dream or nightmare. I can't decide, but you have every Sonic, maybe every Sonic product. You were just showing off a little bit of it to us before, but is that every officially released Sonic thing?
Well, definitely not everything. I think definitely in terms of like toys and stuff like that, I am way behind on any of that stuff, and not something I'm not I'm not as interested in buying the Sonic skateboards and so forth that you can get. I'll leave that to Sonic the cosplayer or whatever it is, where although there's a couple guys who just like who just have a bunker somewhere that just has everything in it. My specialty was trying to collect every single Sonic game and then every version of those games. So for like Sonic 1, for example, I've got the original Mega Drive version, I've got the Canadian version,
wow,
which has the European cover, but the word Genesis on it instead, then all the Sega classics, and like...
He's more polite in that one, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He doesn't tap his foot, he just kind of
huffs
he just smiles and nods as he
yeah.
goes past all the badniks and stuff like that. And less, Game Gear games. I've got as many as I can, definitely still trying to get some of those. It gets very complicated in like Wii and DS era stuff, because every single European country had a different cover with a different logo for like Sonic and the Secret Rings and all that sort of stuff. So not there yet, but trying.
Do you know precisely how many games are behind you, or do you have a ballpark? Like,
no, I haven't got an exact count on some of this stuff, but
you could count right now. What else are we doing?
It feels like a carnival game of like we'll set the line at 200. Would you go over or under that, David? Do you think there's more or less than 200 games behind Ryan? There's also no way for us to verify this since Ryan doesn't know.
Oh, right.
But we'll check later.
Okay.
We'll get an inventory.
I would definitely say more like 300 to 400.
3 to 4.
Hope you took the over, David.
I mean, just looking here, it's like, well, just one of these stacks has like 10 games on it. And so that's just part of that over there. And just going around.
There's a trivia question. So you said Secret Rings has a lot of variants, but what's the game that has the most variants?
I mean, I think there was a weird specific thing with Nintendo games on Wii and DS that would be like, and even like the Mario and Sonic games where the logo on the cover has to be like, this is the German Mario and Sonic logo. And not just a sort of generic-y one, or just like the English one, and then look at the back and here's a few different things. So there was definitely something going on there, but yeah, I'm just not sure. Honestly, there's just too many to count.
Among the 90s games, like, are there more Sonic 1s or Sonic 2s? Do you know?
I have more Sonic 1s, I think. I've got a lot of Sonic Spinballs, I'll say. There's like weird, like not just like the Japanese one, but then like one of the things which I really like about a lot of this stuff is just because I'm from Australia originally, there's a lot of Australian-specific versions of things, which are not things that people tend to think about in terms of their collection. So, like, in Australia specifically, they would make Gold Collection, where it's a black box with a little window in it, and then that's the Sonic Spinball Gold Collection. Or weird VHS. I guess they got like a good deal on some VHS boxes at some point, and they went, let's just chuck in Sonic 2 and let's say Global Gladiators or something like that, and then just put them into a VHS case, and then that's it.
Plus, how many games do you count Sonic 3 and Knuckles? Like, that's at least 4 games. Like, it depends. Sonic Origin says it's... I think we've decided that Sonic and Knuckles is 4 games, right? It's Sonic and Knuckles.
One of the PC games counts Blue Spheres separately. So
yeah, Blue Spheres is a game. Knuckles and Sonic 2 is a game. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a game. That's 3 games. Plus, you've got base Sonic and Knuckles. That's 4 games.
4.
Which makes sense because it's Sonic 4, but it's not called Sonic 4.
They weren't ready to commit to the numbers.
David, what kind of news do we have this week?
Right. Let's go to sonicstadium.org. That's right. They're an organization and
celebrating their 25th year. Did we already say that?
Yes, I think I mentioned that last time.
Well, happy 25.
Yeah, look at them. They're old. No, I mean they're young. Wait, 25 is young still.
They're not getting carded anymore.
They're not.
We'll say that.
Right. It looks like the top news stories are we're still in the afterglow of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 premiere. The box office connected all to that. I forget exactly where it was last time we recorded. I don't remember if we had mentioned, if it happened yet, that the collected Sonic film franchise has grossed over $1 billion. So it's made a lot of money. People seem to like it, except, of course, the Academy Awards. That's right. Sonic snubbed? Oh, movie deemed ineligible for Best Picture. That doesn't make sense because it is the best picture ever made.
Yeah.
So it should retroactively win the last 80 years of film, right? I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
but,
1 billion rings. Three movies to get there. One Mario movie. But also Sonic 3 is the second highest grossing, at least in the US. I saw that headline. In the US, I believe it's behind Mario as the highest grossing video game movie for US domestic market.
That one's going to be a little hard to beat, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That one did okay, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of we're still and actually the movie is already coming to digital later this month, so it's going to be nonstop movie. Ryan, I think the last time you were on, we were reacting to the trailer.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was back then. So have you seen the movie? And also you just went to the symphony. So what are your thoughts on the movie and the symphony?
Yeah, I thought the movie was great. It's definitely my favorite of the 3. It was a lot more of what I wanted. I'm that one who, when Live and Learn is playing, I'm just, smiling in my seat like a child, being very happy that this is finally more like a Sonic movie that I would probably want out of it than Sonic 1 or Sonic 2. I mean, it's definitely, with the Academy Awards stuff, it's definitely there was that joke I think they did at the Academy Awards with like Jim Carrey go, I'll be in Sonic later. This thing is like, yeah, sure. And now it's like, well, screw you guys, we've made money now. It's amazing that we've gotten this far considering the original trailer version of Sonic and the ugly Sonic stuff, and just how good of an idea it was to switch it. And yeah, the Sonic movie was really good. I thought, like, story-wise, great. I really like the Maria stuff in there. I thought they did some really good, like, simple changes to a lot of stuff to, like, just simplify the process down. Interesting that Gerald's in there. Like, I was a bit not sure having Gerald Robotnik be alive was actually going to work, because that's just like, especially with Sonic and Shadow Generations, where it's like, he brought him back and he's like, oh, yes, I am just a really nice person and not the broken person who's about to get executed in Sonic Adventure 2. But they did a pretty good job of it. I think there's some very funny jokes with just the human stuff is more akin to just Jim Carrey and himself talking. And I think that just made things a lot more like cleaner and funnier. I did appreciate that they still found ways to bring in most of the all of the cast from Sonic 2, from the wedding scene in a different way. Even if thought they would go a few different ways, I honestly thought. I guess it's not really even the spoiler. I was honestly thinking that Rockwell, who's like the gun officer, I honestly thought that she might be Rouge at the end of the film or something like that, because they showed off like a face changing thing that they were going to use, and I was like, maybe she's Rouge in disguise and she's just going to turn that off at the end or something like that. And they'd be like, oh, that's a cool new way to show off a new character. But no, it was just, they've kept it pretty simple. It's good that they've just kept it to one new character per film. I think it's really, of course, I want the Chaotix in there, but that's like so much more money. I want Big the Cat in there somewhere, but that's so much more money.
I do hope that they put the Chaotix together at least. I don't know if a post-credit scene with just Charmy Bee would be enough.
Yeah.
Unless the Honey Nut Cheerios Bee returns, because he canonically has met Sonic and Tails in the Honey Nut Cheerios commercial.
Correct.
And everything's canon.
and he's met Tony the Tiger in the commercial for was it Frosted Flakes?
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a Sonic 3 thing for that.
Yep, there was a Cookie Crisp as well. I remember. I think there was Sonic Pogs. Is that in the collection? Do you have any of those Cookie Crisp Sonic Pogs from 1994?
The Cookie Crisp ones. I've got the Australian caps, which they
nice.
Which I collected.
Do you have any fruit roll-ups that are still rolled up? No?
I don't have any food, unfortunately.
I did recently have some Sonic fruit snacks. Hey, speaking of the movie, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, but also I was wondering for everybody, there's been a lot of and you've probably seen this, Brian, a lot given with Sonic the Hedgeblog, or just any of us that are online and spending too much time lurking and doom scrolling.
That's me.
So a lot of my Twitter For You tab is all Sonic now. It's all children arguing about Sonic. And I thought maybe I'd bring up a few of their points that I've seen and just get maybe the adults in the room opinion on some of these things. So one of the main things has just been Sonic's character, his characterization. Given that he's younger, and is he different from Game Sonic? Is he so different from Game Sonic that it is insulting, disorienting, not a faithful adaptation? Is he on his way to, is he growing into being Game Sonic? Is he Game Sonic, but just with more room in a narrative? I've noticed that has been a consistent discussion with lots of different points along that scale being brought up. And just curious if you guys have any thoughts on Sonic's character in the movies versus the games.
I'll go.
Yeah, you go.
I don't think they're the same character, really, and I don't think they necessarily need to be. I think Pat Casey, when he's been on here, has talked about he wants Sonic to want something and wants Sonic to have some emotional depth. And I think he and the writing team have done a good job of that. I think Game Sonic, I prefer maybe the pre-Frontiers thing where he's a little more brash and a little less supportive and giving therapy to Tails and Amy and such. I didn't grow up with the Sonic the Comic UK, Sonic is kind of a bastard, but I do like that. And I like OVA Sonic where he's maybe a little bit annoyed by Tails. But what I really like is Boom Sonic, which sometimes when he's being a little bit annoying, Tails says that he's a donut hole. And I really like that characterization of it. It's yeah, I was being a donut hole. Sorry about that.
Do they say that? I don't remember donut hole. That's great.
They do. It's in at least one episode.
Okay. I think I agree on. So I think the characterization is pretty good for now. I think as you said, Sonic needs something, or he needs to want something, and I feel in Sonic 4, whatever that is, will probably. I think the thing would be that he wants to grow up a bit. It probably will. It sort of feels like it will probably be look, I'm I'm probably in my like 16. I'm probably nearly 18 or 20 at this point. Like, right, Sonic, you need to get out of the house, get a job, or something along those lines, I guess. Or like, what are you going to do? I don't know, go back to another planet or something like that, or explore. I guess explore space in some way. That's usually what happens when people run out of ideas in film, in TV shows. It happened in various Ninja Turtle shows. It's like, now we're in space.
Which, incidentally, they on Sonic Stadium, the writers in a separate interview did mention that they're aware of that request from the fans and would like to do it at some point, of have them go planet hopping and see more fantastical worlds. But
yeah, it's like Sonic X is like, well, we need a third season. Well, let's not. We're back in the actual world, but we're not going to go there. We're going to go to space.
Yeah. Because space is exciting, right? Yeah, I mean, in Ninja Turtles, like in what was it, issue 6? That's when they ended up in space. Like that was very quick. They didn't know what they were doing.
I mean, there's the Ultrons or whatever. I mean, there is space stuff going on in Ninja Turtles. It's just always funny where I think the 2003 Ninja Turtles, at some point they just go, and now we're in space.
Now we're right, because they're being faithful.
Well, I tend to like it when things are a bit more grounded, and usually when they go to space, it's like everything's just out the window now.
All right.
Isn't that a classic Homestar Runner? Like, why are we in space?
Well, eventually, when you're in space, you end up on another planet, so you are dealing with ground. So, I think it all works out at the end, right?
What if you're upside down, though?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
what do you think about the
right?
Whoops.
Well, I was oh right, I lost my train of thought. I mean, I was going to say, at least with Sonic going to space, he is technically an alien in the movies. So there is like room in the plot for that to happen. It's not like they're just arbitrarily going into space, but I understand what you mean, like in general, where if you have a grounded story and then you just have no ideas what to do next. I guess like a Fast and the Furious starts, you're just robbing trucks. And then eventually you do end up in space, and that doesn't make any sense. I don't.
Well, you know, I mean, Sonic, until Sonic Movie 3, though he did transfer worlds, it was via portal. So he wasn't actually in outer space until he was fighting Shadow as Super Sonic.
That's right.
He was not a spacefaring hog, or at least not like in a classical, spaceship sort of thing.
Right.
We've also seen, there were like some aliens that popped into, I mean, Robotnik was on a different planet.
On Mushroom
Planet. And then
Planet,
some other different aliens came in. But and then Knuckles came in. But, who the hell? I mean, I think there was a Sonic comic. There was a Sonic prequel comic that sort of talked about them a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, where's Tails really from? He was like, I was just watching you. But like, what is that planet?
Right. Is it the same planet?
To know
they could all be...
Yeah.
It's the Voyeur planet. It's very weird there. Don't go.
I assume that they're all from the Sega Saturn shaped planet that we saw on the map, because that one just seems right. And I did want to say about the character thing that I think I like. Well, first of all, I think that the children on Twitter and adults and the people on Twitter should the people. If we could just address the people for one moment, we would like to say to the people, well, Sonic, of course, we've talked about this. Sonic, the game character, was not meant to be a character who arcs. He's a concept. He's a mascot. He is a fairy of the wind, a knight of the wind. And there's been YouTube videos and narrative essays from all sorts of content creators that have gone on at length about this subject of how the way that he functions in a story is that he's the constant. Everything else around him changes. But when you make him the main character in a comic, or particularly in the movies, he's got to be a character who's got to want something, like the writers have told us. And I think I would like to see in movie 4 a version of the very confident, cool, swashbuckling Sonic that you associate in the games, that I think is there in the movies. But I think because you also see him in the vulnerable moments, that it almost cancels out the coolness in his mind. Also, I think they kind of downplay the cool aspect of Sonic, so to speak, in favor of relatability. Like, he's more like Spider-Man in the movies, and in the games, he's more like Batman. I know that doesn't make 100% sense, but in a vibe sense.
Yeah, I think the sort of Spider-Man Sonic analog, like that makes sense. That works to me. I mean, I guess you also have like it is just a Sonic in a different place and a different time. It's like video game Sonic wouldn't work 100% in the world of Sat AM because the premise, the world of Sat AM is so different. And it's sort of the same thing with movie Sonic. Like game Sonic, his world, we don't really know a ton about it, or like how does the pop culture work there? Like presumably there is culture.
That's a good point.
But we don't really know it. Right. So then if
yeah, this is happening could be the name of a game show.
That
Sonic's World, formerly known as Mobius.
Right, that's true. So if game Sonic's World was very close to ours, where there are things that are just very, like there are shows and movies and music that are shared between the two, I wouldn't be surprised if Game Sonic made a reference or a quip or a quote or something like that, like a Spider-Man would. But in the movie verse, like he is on our Earth 100%. So I don't think movie and game Sonic are so completely far away from each other. There are elements in every single version of Sonic that are shared, and that how you can look at a Sonic and go, yes, that is a Sonic that is part of the greater Sonic whole.
Donut hole.
Right, the greater donut hole. But you also don't want every interpretation to be exactly the same, because then it's not an interpretation. That's just more a rehash. And like you want to go through the history of narrative fiction. You want to go through the history of even like fairy tales. Like Brothers Grimm fairy tales are not verbatim what those original fairy tales were. If you want to, dive into the history of the spoken narrative, or like, the story, the fable passed from generation to generation and things getting changed, like that's just the way narrative fiction works. So you want to see a Sonic that's slightly different, but still also contains those core qualities. And I think they both do. And it is sometimes just people splitting hairs and wanting to argue because they have such a specific, like cemented version of what Sonic could and should be, when Sonic's never been set in stone, like from the get-go.
He's been the most not in stone character in the world, where
right.
Like I'm just
Stone
reading
is
these Sonic
stone.
the comics, and it's like, oh, the Rock and Kinterbor had a rotten egg in his
Mhm.
refrigerator, and it blew up, and it turned him into Dr. Robotnik. And
Right.
it's like, this is, and then you've got and then Adventures, and then Saddam, and then Underground. It's like, he is the most malleable character that's been out there. As long as he's the constant, then it's been fine.
Would you ever want Sonic to flirt with the dark side?
Like Shadow? Like
Like
almost killing Shadow on the moon?
Whoa.
Yeah, but no, I've got these powers. Why don't I
Why not?
use them to my advantage?
Like
I guess-
Injustice Sonic sort of thing.
Right. I
Maybe
mean,
we'll see that in the DC comic coming up.
oh, geez. Maybe not.
Whoa.
Could we not?
Anti-life equation Sonic.
Mhm.
Well,
They're-
just real quick on the
yes.
thing of movie Sonic, and then to communing with darkness itself. I don't think that they set out to do this necessarily, but I think you could view it this way and be justified in doing so, that movie Sonic is less a straight adaptation of game Sonic specifically, as he is an amalgamation of all of the Sonics, particularly the Sonics that have appeared in, really in all media, because there is the game Sonic, there's the Japanese Sonic, but you can definitely see the Jaleel White Adventures Sonic. You can see some Sonic Boom in there.
Mhm.
Fleetway maybe, but he goes to London, so that's Fleetway. If nothing else.
Right. It didn't meet Tony Blair this time, though.
As for a Spider-Man 3 Sonic, where he's like Disco walking down the street and like he's like possessed by I guess Black Doom is possessing him, right?
Right.
Because Sonic is so pure and incorruptible. Like what would ever make him turn bad?
A really rotten chili dog is what would do it. He's like, why does this chili dog look green? I'll eat it. Oh, no.
Like Darkspine Sonic, bring him back.
Right.
Or whatever
Oh yeah.
was it Nazu, something like that?
Right. The Nazo, or
Sonic
Asura,
X1,
or anything.
whatever.
Right. The Sonic X1, I think it's just called Dark Sonic. I don't know if it has an official name, but it is like, oh yeah, he's being a little rude, which does have shades of the Fleetway version of Supersonic, which I guess was even there was that one issue of Archie where the red Chaos Emeralds made an evil supersonic, which was sort of an homage, but maybe not, but maybe entirely an homage to the evil supersonic from Fleetway. Like they have played with it, but I guess we've never seen I guess Scourge is what if Sonic was bad. There's even an arc where he tries to push Sonic Prime, not Sonic Prime, but the Prime version of Archie Sonic into like the one bad day scenario, which I guess is just stolen from the Killing Joke, but that's fine. Where it is like, oh, you could be me if something bad happened to you. And Prime Archie Sonic is like, no way. I'm going to be macking with Princess Ally forever and in a good way. So I guess they flirted with it in certain places, but not really game Sonic. We've never had a Sonic being tempted by the dark side, as it were.
Again, because he just doesn't change really. He's very static in the games. But I thought, movie 3, I thought gave us the best version of that scenario of like, okay, this is the whole point of Tom, of like Sonic becomes attached to somebody, and then because of the Sonic adventures, that somebody gets hurt. It's every superhero's nightmare. What happens to Sonic then? And you see him sort of push to his limits, but then pull back and remember. So the Donut Lord fills the hole in the donut hole heart.
Right.
Exactly.
Tom is a Timbit. Fits perfectly in there.
He's a Timbit. Yeah.
Right. That's the next campaign. They could change the Timbit name to Tombit.
Has Sonic ever done anything with Tim Hortons? Like he's been in Frosted Flakes, he's been on all sorts of things.
He has lifesavers.
Classically, yeah.
I mean, with the Sonic 3 Sonic as well, I mean, this is part of it. It's just like he is a character that needs to exist as what Sonic is now in the modern context, but also classic Sonic context, but also Sonic Adventure 2 context.
Right.
And those are all pretty different, different voices, different actors, different writers. And so you're trying to sort of mix all that together and try to appease everyone. I think they ultimately did a pretty good job of that. I would say, like, Sonic needs some growth, I guess, but like he didn't necessarily grow that much. He in the film does sort of go a bit dark, I guess, where he goes and gets the emeralds and with the Knuckles, telling him, hey, you shouldn't really do this, but I trust you, and learnt a little bit from that. But that was sort of him being brash in a way that his temper overtook him to be a bit more Shadow-like, but learnt from it.
Yeah, I like that. Because if you got this emerald hanging around, you're going to be a little tempted to use it to,
Super Wade Whipple is
right. Tempted to
is what we need to say.
Eat it.
I would be tempted to like, can I use this to like do my laundry faster? But Sonic doesn't have that problem, but you can imagine.
No.
Right. I bet like Tom
he's
was
out of batteries.
It is funny where like there was a lot of like, a lot of people trying to figure out exactly what was going to happen in the film. And a lot of people were like, what's going to happen is the planet explodes, but then they go back in time, Superman the movie style, through the Chaos Emeralds. Like, no, that's not what happened.
What happens in Sonic Fights Robotnik 2, the classic fanfic by Sonic Fan.
Exactly.
The world explodes in Sonic Unleashed, and they got to put it back together with the
Chaos Emeralds. It's totally fine halfway. It's like, oh yeah, sure, you just need to get a plane to go from Spagonia to Aptos or whatever.
Ken Penders wanted the planet to explode in his Sonic movie. It was called Sonic Armageddon. There's concept art of Mobius exploding.
That's true.
Like, you just can't resist it.
I think in 1996 you needed to have an Armageddon movie, though, right? It's just
all right.
Yeah,
that was in the air at that moment.
Yeah, just like the classic Armageddon starring Mr. Geddon.
Yeah, Army-geddon.
Army. Yeah.
Please kill us. If you would like to kill us, email sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Let's do a check-in with Rings of Saturn, take a quick break, and then open the mailbag. How does that sound?
Whoa.
All right, Rings of Saturn. We're going PlayStation side for the weekend. Don't worry, we'll come back. But you guys ever play MDK or MDK2?
Murder, Death, Kill? Just kidding.
Murder, Death, Kill, probably that's what it stands for.
Right.
To me, this was like a classic Dreamcast demo disc, that MDK2 preview.
Right, he made toast.
Yeah,
I
very
made
memorable
toast.
to me.
And the
But
dog.
there was a game before that,
What?
as the name might imply. MDK2 was preceded by MDK the first. They were made by different developers. So the second one that I knew is BioWare, who went on to fame and fortune in Sonic Chronicles, right? But before it was Neversoft, who went on to fame with the Tony Hawk series. And you may remember Rings of Saturn did a little bit of a Tony Hawk Neversoft kick a while back.
Was it Neversoft or was it Shiny? Or did Shiny only do the PC version and Neversoft ported?
I think Shiny did the PC version and Neversoft did the PlayStation port.
Gotcha.
So the reason I looked at it was, okay, I was deep into all the Neversoft games with the Tony Hawk of it all, and the almost exact same cheat code system from the Tony Hawk and such games is in MDK2, and there's a passel of them that have not been reported, and so I've worked out what all of them did but one, and he responded to me when I asked him about his first game, Skeleton Warriors. I emailed Nick West, founder of Neversoft, and he said, "Oh yeah, that cheat code gives you an extra difficulty level. Weird, nobody found that one."
Oh wow.
So another little bit of video game history uncovered.
Wow.
My favorite part of this is, I think, I can't find confirmation of this because it's like trying to prove a negative. There's a couple of cheat codes that do the same thing as other cheat codes, but they give you invincibility and they say, "Welcome, tips and tricks reader," or "Hey, happy Christmas from the Games Master." So I think the intention was they're going to leak these cheat codes to a particular magazine. You're going to put it in. It's going to say, "Hey, I know where you got this cheat code." And then didn't do it, or they did it and those magazines are lost to time.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed.
Yeah, that's cool.
That
I mean,
those
yeah,
little
it might have
messages
been in
coming
the
up.
magazine and just no one actually like wrote it on GameFAQs or something like that.
So I've been deep in the archive.org archives, looking through old tips and tricks scans, and haven't been able to come up with them. But anyway, that's
really cute, though. That's a good way to do it.
Do you think I guess it's like, so that way the game developer or publisher can say to the magazine, "Oh, we're giving you a unique code.
Yeah.
This is a code that's unique to you, and that's an exclusive. So you give us money for it." Perhaps is how the
positive
arrangement-
coverage, maybe
Positive coverage.
Oh, maybe this bumps us up a point in the review.
Yeah,
Another,
because there's no way
like-
for them to like track, because it's a cartridge.
I mean, it would be like 3 months after the game, it's like came out, then they put it into the tips and tricks, and now we get a boost of sales because they mentioned it again or something like that. I could see that happening.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that. And then once we swing back around to the Sega side of the Saturn Moon, I'm going Borecore here. I got Virtual Golf and Actual Golf, and 2 golf games for the price of 1. And there's almost an interesting cheat code in Virtual Golf. You can unlock the professional, yada, yada, yada.
Almost interesting.
But Actual Golf, this is made by the Gremlin software developers. That one, interestingly, has some unused screens that indicate that it had an entire second disc that I guess they just whacked. And these had classic golf courses, according to the text on these screens. So if you're into golf video games and you're into classic golf courses, good on you. I'm not, but
There's one person and his name is Brian, and congratulations to you.
there was almost a game for you in 1996, 7?
Almost.
Whenever Actual Golf came out.
Huh. Maybe all the licensing fell through. Couldn't license out Pebble Beach or any other golf course. I'm assuming there is a Pebble Beach golf course. It seems like a pretty...
They just probably remade
people
all the Mario Golf courses or something like that secretly.
People are deep into the Bo lore and know that when I bought my house, there was a room that was decked out in extensive golf decor. There's wallpaper. There was a light switch cover that was a golfer. There's curtain rods that were golf clubs. And I there's a mural on the closet. So it's now been thoroughly degolfed, but it took me 4 years to do.
4?
Wow.
Wow.
Arnold Palmer's Tournament Golf was one of the first Mega Drive games I owned.
Wow.
So I played a bunch of that.
I think 4 years is par. I think that's about right. Folks. Kill us. Email us. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to come right back here about the symphony. Open the mailbag. All right.
Hey listeners of Sonic Weekly, this is Barry from Sega Bits to tell you about a few of our shows. Sega Talk is a bi-weekly show in which my co-host George and I look back on the many games in Sega history. The Swing and Report Show Live is a Sega interview show and the longest-running Sega podcast of all time. Listen to interviews with special guests like former Sega CEO Tom Kalinske, Sonic voice actor Roger Craig Smith, and many more. Watch or listen at youtube.com/SegaBits or search SegaBits on your podcatcher of choice.
All right. Thank you, Barry. Thanks, Barry, buddy. All right. We're back. Symphony. We've been twice, Bo and I. David, we're waiting for you to go. But
That's right.
Ryan is going to tell you how the show was in Atlanta and why you need to go, David, the next time it's in your part of the country.
All right,
Or
whenever
maybe-
that is.
Well, it's over now,
You
so
need to come here. Yeah.
until the
It's over.
35th anniversary or whenever they seem to be doing this reasonably
That was the last
regularly.
show?
It seems. It was the second to last show.
Oh.
So the last one I think was in DC, and now it's just done.
Oh,
So it is over.
David.
I'd be surprised if they don't bring it back within a year or two, though. Like, they sold out
sure.
big venues all across the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean there was a 30th anniversary symphony, which they did, and then it became the world tour last year,
Right.
and so they started that last year. But and a pretty big difference, I guess, between the two. But it seems like the people who are running it seem keen on doing this sort of stuff anyway. The Atlanta one, for the second time it was there, was pretty much sold out. So that's probably a pretty good sign. Which also is probably the reason why they're going to bring the Sega Sonic Cafe here, which we can talk about a little bit later. But it was really cool. I went with my wife. I dragged her along. I thought it was really cool. It's an interesting mix because it's like half symphony, half rock show.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly feel that the actual symphony bit at the beginning is probably the weakest part of it, and mainly because those songs just really weren't made to be heard in a symphony type way. But once they start getting to the like Sonic Adventure Dreamcast era where they went, I know how to put strings into this actual song. Now you can actually more better hear things. If anything, most of the earlier Sonic songs would be better off as like a big brass band type thing instead, where like there's a lot of more like horns and stuff like that you can probably get a lot of the faster elements of it. And then second act, I mean, this was like, now it was the Year of Shadow, so they went through I Am All of Me and What I'm Made Of and all that sort of stuff. Everyone was going wild on it. That was really cool. And ultimately, like, it got really good. I would say the one thing is I just don't know most of the songs from Sonic Frontiers, and so when it ends with that, it's like, I don't know what that is. Sonic Frontiers, frankly, has too much music. It's got 6 damn CDs worth of music. I couldn't tell you what most of them were. I've heard I'm Here, but that's kind of about it, I think. The encore they did for this one was they did a Sonic R encore.
Cool.
Which I appreciated, and very funny Tails doll hiding and sneaking into various parts.
Yeah, the visual component of the symphony concert is fantastic.
Yeah. I think, and then it ended with Live and Learn and all that as well. I think the one thing I missed from it probably I would have liked was the Sonic Heroes just main theme. I feel like that was just sort of another one that would have been good. And I know that like in the first anniversary symphony, they did like a Game Gear medley, and I would have that would have been nice. That's nice for me, but like also like Sonic team generally just goes like, what is this? I don't even understand what this is. So, and if anything, I think the other thing would have been, I know that in the UK ones that they did, they actually got is it TJ Davis? She was there and stuff like that to actually sing the Sonic R songs. That would have been great to go to those, but they did a really good job, and so I'm happy to
have imported her.
Yeah,
that's what it's.
Well,
I think she's coming to the US and playing a show soon.
Okay,
I half remember seeing that on the internet recently. So somebody go verify that.
What was the fan vibe like at the show? Was there a lot of cosplay? Was it people trying to like play it cool, mix of ages, or mostly people
a lot
like
of,
our
lot
age?
of cosplay, a lot of kids as well, which I think was really good. I caught up with Korimaru there as well because he was hanging around and there as well as Justin from Spicy Euros. I forget how it actually sounds, but the guy who's behind Panic Porcupine, someone from Fan Game Days back in the day as well. I got a T-shirt and I got light thing to wave around with. That's why I brought my wife. Well, I didn't actually bring her for this reason, but she said, "Hey, I'm going to go get that stuff for you while you." I was like, "Sweet." I'm not going to wait in a 30-minute line between acts.
What was her review on it? Because I'm sure she's familiar with a lot of the music, but probably not as deeply, right?
She's not really. I don't really, show her a lot of the music. A lot of this room that I'm in. This is the Sonic room, and this is pretty much about as far as it sort of gets. But she did actually really enjoy it. She enjoyed like the rock part of it and all that sort of stuff as well. She's a big music head generally, so it's just a lot of songs that she would have not heard of before. But like part of it would be, oh, that's interesting. It's just a weird variety of types of songs. In this way, with that's it gets real metal in Sonic Frontiers.
It does.
It was funny, just like it's like, we're not even going to even touch Lost World. It's not even here. I think the issue I have is as well as like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the best music is the ones they can't play. I would really have loved get Hard Times out here, get the band up, and just sing the Hard Times version. Just get it over with.
Great. Oh,
that would have been great.
Launch base. Who do we got to pay for launch base?
Yeah, when they first did the live stream, I was like, "You cowards! You're going straight to Sky Sanctuary."
Interestingly, like the Sonic 3 and Knuckles bit is still using just regular Mega Drive footage. It's not using.
Yeah,
it had the Sonic 1 part did have the stars from Origins. It had all the Origin stuff in there, but the 3 and Knuckles part still is just using old footage, so it must have been from the original 30th anniversary thing or something like that. Maybe it's just they just didn't redo that bit.
I was wondering if the next iteration of it is just all rock concert, because as much as I love the symphony part to listen to while I work, like it is quite a shift, and you've got a whole lot more musicians to take with you on the road or hire locally. Like probably would work better as just.
Well, I guess the issue, the thing we've got worried now is if June is suing Sega, then what's going to happen with that? Because really, it should just be Crush 40 goes on tour and does this.
The Crush 40 era is over,
but I don't know how that'll. I mean, he still technically works for Sega as well.
Yeah, I think
like Johnny's out.
Johnny's out. June will probably say.
Well, I guess at this point he probably just went, Live and Learn is in the movie. They actually paid me for this. Hey, they've meant to be paying me for the last 20 years. Hey, you should probably have given me money for that. Well, I worked on Sega Forever, and there was a big ass list of these are the actual music that we own that there was around. Because they had to do.
I love Johnny, but I cannot imagine what he says is entirely accurate. Like, I had no idea Live and Learn had been used all these times. Really, at all the conventions that you've been at, and all the performances you've done, and all of the interactions you've had with fans, it never came up? Are you really sure about that?
I think the more accurate thing is that he just learned that it has way more value than he thought. And that he saw that same song and then with more zeros next to it. It was like, wait a minute.
Look, if he's owed it, then I pay the man, I say. But my guess is he's off base here, and he's torched a wonderful relationship. Like I hate to see the Johnny Gioli era end.
Right. He said, "Live and learn," more like "live and earn." Cha-ching.
It's like, I am looking to retire, so give me money.
Right.
Well, I've crushed my 40s, and now it's time to.
Someone's making money from this, and I listen to it on Spotify a bunch, and I know that doesn't really help. So,
I mean, they have to have done
somebody should pay him.
I mean, they have to do something to get the Sonic 1 music on Spotify because Dreams Come True owns all that.
Yeah,
or whatever half thing on that.
Their version is on Spotify.
Yeah,
it's directly labeled as Nakamura.
And you can't get endless possibility on
Correct.
On Spotify either, because whoever the guy is that did that one.
Jarrett Reddick.
Yeah.
From Bowling for Soup.
Yep.
That's how you pronounce it.
I like the Nathan Short version better anyway.
So we have a mailbag, and every once in a while we do open up the mailbag, which you can reach at sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. You can comment on the YouTube videos. You can chat with us in the Discord, but unless you email us, you're not getting read on the show. But when you do email us and you give us permission, then this happens. Okay, great. So here we go. Opening the letter. All right. It says, "Hello, you can call me Blue. I am a Sonic artist and I love listening to y'all talk while I'm drawing. Recently, I've gotten a question that I hear a lot but don't know how to answer. Personally, I don't care much about how canon a game is to Sonic's story, but I would like to hear which games you guys think are canon and non-canon. Obviously, I'm not talking about any games like Mario Olympics and Racing. I think it would be interesting to discuss the order as well. Thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful day." The end. Thank you, Blue.
Sonic Schoolhouse is canon.
There you have it. There you have it, officially from Sonic the Hedgeblog. It's true.
Yep.
Oh, but where? Where does it take place in the timeline?
Ooh, okay.
And on
See,
which
that's-
world?
Yep.
That's where you stumble. Right. Is it exclusive? Like, I guess it would be classic era, but is that where now it's just islands, or is it in that weird, post Colors era where it's a separate dimension entirely, or maybe it's part of two worlds? There's so many questions, so many answers. Where Sonic Schoolhouse take place?
Yeah. Now I have to actually think. Now I actually have to think
in the
about it.
schoolhouse and on the grounds, though, right?
Green Hills,
You
Montana.
can't really see
There's a
much
bus
outside of the
with the monkey and the polar bear.
Right. Those guys are frightening.
Yep.
Well, there's references to Tails and Knuckles in Schoolhouse, correct? So it would have to be post Sonic 3 at the very least.
With Sonic, it's like, he's using Sonic Extreme-ish sprites, so it's probably about as close to that existing as we could possibly get.
Right. So it replaces wherever Sonic Extreme would have been in the timeline. So that would have been
after 3D Blast, but before Adventure.
Yes. So I guess it would be, it would be after 3D Blast.
Yeah.
Because 3D Blast would have been, it still would have come out on the Genesis. I mean, Mega Drive.
I like to think that just all games like canon, like they fit in. You can fit them in whatever way. Sonic went to a school and just taught kids how to spell and have letters in it. All the Game Gear ones, like I like all those ones. Like now that Fang is back, like it's sort of proof of that. If anything, this year will be the thing that they'll probably try to canonize Chaotix in a way that fits, because after Heroes, they've never mentioned or shown the original Chaotix beforehand. Like they've never mentioned their prior versions. All the IDW Sonics have never mentioned what they look like before. But apparently there's going to be a Chaotix special of some sort this year, because it's the 30th anniversary? 30th anniversary of Chaotix. So they're going to make some Chaotix special. And so that would be the first time since the original game that they've actually shown the original designs for SPO and Vector and Charmy.
Is this IDW that's doing a special?
That's what I think.
Special?
I think it was like sort of half mentioned. Yeah, it's not like it's been like not like the trades are out for it yet or anything. But they pretty much have always said that after Heroes, these are just new characters. Like
Right.
they've gone like that. That's sort of non-canon as a thing, and not like they ever brought it. They've never brought it back for you to play. It's not in Origins collection or anything like that. Only some.
Here's my pitch: the Sonic 32-bit collection, Knuckles Chaotix, Sonic R, Sonic Jam, Burning Rangers, Nights into Dreams, and also Magical Night Dreams, Cotton 2. Another very cool Sega Saturn game that
Christmas Nights,
Nights as well, and Dynamite Cop 2,
right.
Wade Whipple edition.
Wade,
Yep.
So it's Green Hills themed instead of Die Hard themed. Is what we're gonna do. This sounds good.
Actually, I meant Virtua Cop 2.
You meant Virtua Cop 2. Okay.
I was thinking Virtua Cop, but said Dynamite Cop.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
But
Die Hard.
both are
Arcade.
games.
Right.
2 Die Hard games on Saturn.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
Do I also
Trilogy.
I sort of half consider Coca-Cola Kid canon. It's a weird Game Gear game that is made. It basically is just made on the Sonic Triple Trouble engine, and just has the same sound effects and way that like walls break and stuff like that. If I could,
Oh, did Aspect make it?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm.
If there was a
Okay.
game, if I could figure out how to hack Game Gear games, I would hack that game to be like a Knuckles game or something like that. Just take out all the Coca-Cola and put in Knuckles, like because you have like wall climbing and stuff in that game, so
Oh, wow.
it would make
It
sense.
might
It
have
would
been
work,
the original pitch.
maybe.
Oh, yeah. Sonic canon is something I've thought about for a very long time.
What's definitively out?
What's
What-
definite?
What do you say is
See-
not part?
Right. Like when I think about what games are canon, what games aren't canon, I mean, clearly the Sonic Boom games aren't canon. As much as I would like it to be, Mean Bean Machine is not going to be canon. I know it's referenced in Mania, but like, Scratch and Grounder are in it. Like, it's an AOSTH game.
The Boom games aren't canon. They can't be canon because his arms are blue. Knuckles is too tall for it to be canon.
Yeah. Unless it's meant to be like a dystopian future, hundreds of years down the line, and it's their descendants and they all just look the same except for Knuckles, because since he was the last of his kind, he had to, his kids were not with an echidna, so that kind of...
He self-replicates.
Oh, right.
Maybe Knuckles was just juicing and Sonic's arms were weird for a minute. You know, Ken Penders was great at this. Why was Sally pink? She fell into a weird pond or something. I forget what it was. But
She
Fell into a vat.
She fell into
she
a
fell
vat.
into a vat. There you go. Sonic fell into a vat. Knuckles fell into a vat. For 2 years, they looked a little weird while they were babysitting Eggman on Prison Island.
Okay.
Because we know that Styx is canon. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But,
No, Styx is
that's my
canon.
objection. That's my Phoenix Wright objection.
Right. I mean, my head canon, though, is that Styx is canon, and that as established in Worlds Unite, she seems to be able, she can slip into other universes. So if Styx ever shows up in mainline canon, I would like to think it's the same Styx from the show/game Sonic Boom. But now she's just here, and it doesn't matter why. She just is.
Just the Deadpool of Sonic, basically. Just the
Mhm.
just the wall breaker.
Yeah. I know Ian Flynn, even though he is no longer making comments on the timeline anymore. Sorry, all you bumbleheads out there. I know there were comments, allusions that Spinball is somehow part of the timeline. I still hold on to the fact that Spinball is not canon to the rest because it's clearly meant to be something else. Even the manuals that talk about Mobius, like, it is referenced as another planet, I think, even in the Japanese manual, let alone in the US manual. That's just, hey, it's Mobius. Like, there's cameos of Sally and the other freedom fighters, and I still would keep it out of the mainline canon, personally. I know you mentioned the Game Gear games. Like, yeah, why not throw them in there? I don't like it. Now, we are forced in this post Superstars world to deal with the fact that Triple Trouble is canon. I do not have issues with Fang the Knackless Sniper being a canon character, and for him to exist, because I'm like, fighters, sure, that's canon. Fang can be running around doing stuff. It's just the original Game Gear games and their manuals set up a world that seems to be parallel to the Genesis line. Sonic Team, or Sonic Team adjacent, because Sonic Team wasn't a proper thing until 96. Like, they don't care about what's happening in the Game Gear games. They're not trying to make it match. So when you have Triple Trouble in the Japanese manual, make it seem like Sonic and Knuckles are meeting for the first time, even though they have already met for the first time in Sonic 3. Like, and the fact that those games all take place in South Island, the fact that the Chaos Emeralds seem to be actually, their existence is tied to South Island. So then when Eggman gets an emerald in Chaos, the island starts sinking or falling apart or whatever. It's like, it seems to be playing by different rules, not to mention there are only 6 emeralds. There is no super form. Like,
There's always one missing. Just like, well,
there's always...
we don't have the sprites to make him super, so don't worry.
Right, but it's like, it feels like it is own little mini canon. And so then when you go, well, Triple Trouble is now canon, well, the story of Triple Trouble has to change, but we don't have a different version of Triple Trouble. We can say a version of that game occurs, but it's not the version you can play on your Game Gear. And saying, all the Game Gear games take place after 3 and Knuckles, it's like, so they all just go back to South Island, and there's only 6 emeralds.
And Tails dies.
And Tails dies. Yeah. And I mean, I'm also a fan of the Tails Adventures being a prequel to Sonic 2 as opposed to happening after. But I think perhaps in this post Forces, post Frontiers world that we're dealing with, it's like I don't think it's meant to be a prequel anymore. So I guess
I was about to throw an objection to that. Why would it be a prequel? Just because Sonic's not there?
Well, it says in the manual this happens before Tails met Sonic.
Oh, well,
that's why it's in the Japanese manual. The American manual does say it's after the fact. It's like, and Sonic's not around, Tails is hanging out. So there is like in the US manuals do have like their own canon in a sense.
Right.
Like, starting with the Kantobo origin and then going on, although I would argue that CD is between 1 and 2 regardless of which version of the world you're dealing with. It's just that
the manual says Sally.
Right, but
Right.
Sonic CD in the American canon would take place between Game Gear 1 and Game Gear 2. So have fun with that. The 90s American version, because I guess the modern American version is just the worldwide version where they're trying to what I'm saying is that Sonic canon has always been somewhat malleable, as evidenced by statements that have been made by, before Kevin Eva left Sega of Europe, he had made statements, I think, that like Chaotix isn't canon, but also Secret Rings and Black Knight aren't canon, and that the Riders are spin-offs, so that might be canon, but probably not. Like, he made these statements. Even though he's the reason Mighty and Ray have a cameo in poster form in Generations. So he made these statements, and then Generations comes out, and the script explicitly references Secret Rings. So even when he was like, I'm working at Sega, I know that they're making Generations, I'm making suggestions, I leave the company, my statements have been contradicted by the very game I was associated with. The whole Two Worlds thing, classic Sonic being from a different dimension, like that definitely didn't exist when Adventure came out. These concepts have always flown in and out. Canon is malleable. I guess it's easy to say everything is canon. And I think for the most part...
It sure is.
Yeah, for the most part, you can say most of these games do work together. It really is just those ones that are very explicitly not meant to. Like Boom, like Mean Beam Machine. I would argue Spinball, but they're messing with that. And then you can get into arguments like, does Sonic at some point become a police officer? But maybe Waku Waku Sonic Patrol Car is actually in the movie timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And after Tom really dies, Sonic takes his job.
But I think of it as Grant said at the top of the show. Sonic is a spirit. Sonic is a legend. Sonic is a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a set of stories that many accounts agree on. There are a set of stories that some accounts don't agree on. There's a set of accounts that are like, how did that come about? He's like a Roman god. He's like a Christian god. He's
the blue savior. Even Sonic Adventure is contradictory.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
I think Sonic Adventure is the key to it all. Everybody's telling a flattering version of events in which they're the hero and they won the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But who really did? You don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's nothing is canon unless we specifically mention it in some way. Particularly the IDW stuff, like the IDW stuff has now sort of canonized Tails Sky Patrol. They brought back Witch Cart, etc. The Fang the Hunter series had explicit, like, this is the island that the Chaotix game was on, that was then sinking or something like that.
Right,
So
New Tragic
it's
Highway.
even-
The New Tragic Highway, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So there's that. The only game that we absolutely know is not canon is Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
Oh, that's right.
That ain't going to get mentioned ever again.
That's the only game in the encyclopedia where they say point blank, nope, not canon.
No.
And even when it came out, it didn't really work because it was like, this has to be in the future. And will we ever get there? No, we won't. And we definitely won't.
We'll never see shade again.
Throwing shade on shade.
Everything is canon if you're currently playing that game. Like if you're playing Dark Brotherhood, then it is canon because Sonic is a present tense character. Doesn't really exist in the past or the future. That's Silver. Silver's in the future. Also, we've read a lot of DC comics, right? So like there's a lot of different ways that we can look at canon, and it is kind of appealing to think of it like maybe it's like an Earth 1, Earth 2. They're interlocking Venn diagrams of Earths that sometimes are in sync and sometimes not, or it's all just literally one, or who cares?
It's a Sonic Historia where it splits off,
Yes.
Hyrule Historia style. There's Sonic, the Game Gear games go this way, the Mega Drive games go this way.
Right. I've definitely seen fan timelines where there's like, oh, CD, there's the good ending and the bad ending, and they try to argue that like somehow the bad ending is where we are at. But like I've never. People want to get wild and they want to get weird, but yeah, DC, I don't know.
Yeah, this is a question that's come up a few times, so we definitely appreciate it. We've talked about it in previous episodes. We'll talk about it in future episodes, and we talked about it right now. But you know what else we're going to talk about? The fact that we're up against the clock, and it is time.
Whoa! Tick tock goes the clock. It's on the wall. Look at those hands; they're spinning. And they're spinning just like Sonic the Hedgehog. Whoa.
Keep going.
He's going down a hill. Be careful. He's going to hit a wall. Wait, he broke it because he is in a ball. That's what he does, just like Green Hill Zone Act 3. Yeah, that's right. You just listened to another episode of Sonic Weekly. I was about to say Sonic T Hedgehog, but that's not right. We're not Sonic. Even though we wish we were Sonic sometimes, it would make getting around a lot easier because we could run at the speed of sound, go crisscross country, and if we had those rings from the movies, then we could really go anywhere. We could hang out on Neptune.
David,
we could record together.
What? Yeah. Oh, right. But okay, right. But you know what? If you want to hear us pontificate about other things in the future and you haven't done it already, that's what you should do. Or what should you do? Of course, subscribe to this show using your podcatcher of choice, be it Apple Podcasts, be it Spotify. And for the Android faithful, of course, you got to use Podcast Addict. There's no other app that holds up on that cellular device. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Show us some love on those platforms. But if you reject all podcatchers, we are also over on YouTube at Sonic-Weekly, where you can like, comment, and subscribe. And our audio is joined by video game footage played and recorded by friend of the show, Jack of Old Games. Thanks for playing the games, Jack. And regardless of how you listen, you can always reach out to this program using the email address, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line. We do the mailbag just like you experienced today. And emailing is how you get the link to our Discord server, where you can join in and talk with like-minded Sonic the Hedgehog fans about many things, including, but not limited to, Sonic T Hedgehog. But if you want to help support the show in a monetary sense, we are over at Ko-fi. I was like, what is that thing called? It's called Ko-fi. We're just Sonic Weekly over there. You can, throw in a one-time tip in the jar, or you can become a $5 a month executive producer, just like PigDan, Pabsy, Sonikku, SavingThrows, Cal, and our newest AltSynth, or Alt-Synth. I don't know if you pronounce the dash. Like Mrs. Dash, the seasoning, you say dash there. Hey, you get some...
they actually don't have a dash in their name. I didn't want to mention it, but now I feel like you forced my hand. I put the dash in there to help so that you wouldn't think it was absinthe or something, so you'd be able to see that it was two words and say just AltSynth. But then, then the hyphen became the point, so...
Right. Oh.
Sorry, AltSynth.
Yes.
There you go, AltSynth. Congratulations.
Sorry about that. That's okay. Yeah, and of course, if you do are able to donate, which it helps offset the cost of production and hosting, you also can get some physical sticker goodies from a wife of the Grant Ashlyn. You can stick it on whatever you want. The wall, your computer, or your face. Hey, put it on your water bottle, water sipping jug. They're all there. Thanks once again to our guest, Ryan R. Langley, the blogger, the blog himself. He is the human embodiment of a blog. It is something to say.
It's true.
Yes, and of course, thank you, Bo, and thank you, Grant, for holding down the fort, for being in orbit, for traversing across the country in a Greyhound bus, or using an Amtrak, American Airlines, or just a car. You rented it from, Enterprise, right? That's a car rental service. They all escape my name. I don't know. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, David, for every silly thought in your head. I love it so very much. And I look forward to the end of every episode. And thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Bo, and thank you, listeners, and thank you, Smoovies.
Oh, right. How could I forget Smoothies? Thank you, Smoovies, for the edit. Oh, God. I knew I forgot something. I got thrown off by the dash.
Always thank the sound editor.
Yeah, I forgot the sound. I'm so sorry, Smoovies. You know I love you.
We love you, Smoovies. Yeah, we love you. Okay, bye.